Howdy. This is Katsumi here, and today I'm doing what if Deku had Meliodis' assault mode. And this is going to be a collab between me and I don't exactly remember his name, but it's the Sin of Lust for the Seven Deadly Sins. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kaisami. It's not either of those, but it sounds like it would be. I'm sorry if I'm going to be going a little fast. I'm going to be going to work soon, and I still have not eaten anything today. Because by the time I get this video uploaded, I have to edit it. Then upload it through video software. Now then, this is going to be... We're going to be starting off whenever Deku is defending that one kid against Bakugo and the bullies. Deku has been told that he does have a quirk. He has the... I don't know if it's if you have this bone, you're going to have a quirk, or if you don't have this bone, you're going to have a quirk. I think it's if you don't have the bone, the extra joint, you'll have a quirk. But let's say that happens and Deku, he gets beaten. Now, whenever he does get beaten, he gets angry at this. He gets angry at Bakugo. And that is whenever his quirk awakens. Deku goes from his happy-go-lucky personality to essentially what Meliodas is like whenever he's in that form. He shows no emotion but anger. Not even anger, it's pure rage. It's unfiltered. Unstoppable. But whenever Deku does do this, all he has is the mark on his forehead. It's a small mark. Probably... It's a small mark, probably the size of... It's bigger than a marble. It's probably the size of a jawbreaker. It's a little tattoo like that. And Bakugo, he does see this, and he actually sees one of Deku's eyes turn pure red. And Deku punches Bakugo. And whenever he does punch Bakugo, Bakugo goes flying back into the wall, and he actually gets somewhat injured. Sorry about that. He gets injured, and he actually stops messing with Deku from that point. Because Deku does have a quirk, and he was able to beat him. But he still thinks his quirk is better. But he thinks Deku's villainous, so he just starts calling him a villain. Now, Deku actually does go to the quirk doctor, and they do give his quirk a diagnosis. They tell him that his quirk is that anytime he does feel anger or gets angry, he will activate his quirk. And it's kind of harder for them to understand because his quirk is stronger than normal kids. Because he did something that a kid his age shouldn't be able to do, and he actually punched someone through a wall. Now then, let's skip. Deku, he does go to some counseling. He does do all that for his anger, because he still does feel angry. But after probably a couple months, he does start getting control over his anger. And he starts wanting to train. Because they see that he gets angry that he's not able to go out and play with some other kids. So they would actually be able to get him to go training. Like running around, doing all this, like weight training, body training, stuff like that. Deku won't be around Meliodis's height. He'll actually be a bit taller because I don't know exactly how tall those two are compared to each other. But Deku, he starts training his quirk by trying to get angry and angrier, but trying to control it more. So a couple of years have gone by, and he's actually been training his quirk a lot, understanding it more. And people, they still see Deku as powerful, but they see him as villainous also. So they see him as a powerful villain to be feared. And I don't know how far I should go up to, but I should probably speed up a bit because I still need to go downstairs and make food. Okay, let's see. So let's skip to the last day of school. Deku would be laughed at because he wanted to be a hero. Whenever everyone is seen as Cork's villainous. And whenever Bakugo stands up and gives a speech and actually tries to blow up Deku's desk, Deku would actually activate his quirk to around this level. And what I mean by this level is he'd actually have the darkness all around him doing all that. And he'd actually stand up against Bakugo. And whenever he does stand up against Bakugo, Bakugo gets a bit scared because he's ever only seen that small that tattoo, besides of basically he's only ever seen a tattoo like the size of a fist on Deku's face. But now it's somewhat around that big on his face, but it's with this. And everyone gets scared about Deku because they see that his eyes look emotionless, but he's just staring Bakugo down, not saying anything. And Bakugo would try and rush Deku and try and fight him, but Deku, he would just knock Bakugo to the ground. And I mean just he would smack Bakugo across the face, sending him out through a window. And Deku would just whenever Bakugo gets up whenever Bakugo does come back in through the window because he would just explode his way in, he would land on the ground and actually start he would actually be laying on the ground because of how hard Deku hit him. And Deku would do this. He'd extend a hand and tell Bakugo that he is going to become a hero no matter what everyone says. He doesn't care if his quirk seems villainous. He is going to be a hero and prove everybody wrong. And whenever Deku does this, he actually turns off his quirk. Now, crap, hang on. Okay. Now then, back where we left off. Sorry about that. I had to pause it and look for something. So, the sludge villain attack. Whenever the sludge villain does attack Deku, Deku would actually somewhat lose a bit of control. Because he was not having a good day. He had people laugh at him trying to become a hero. And now he's got people seeing him as nothing but a villain. Even though his power isn't flashy powerful, it's scary powerful. And whenever the sludge villain does attack Deku, he's able to contain it in a small ball of darkness, but it's not very stable. Now All Might appears. All Might would kind of question Deku about, like, oh, crap, it's another villain. Wait, this is a young boy. So he kind of questioned Deku on what his quirk is. Deku would explain that his quirk is called Darkness, and that it revolves around him using his anger to activate his quirk. But he's actually very calm, because he actually does have Meliodis' personality a bit. He's laid back, but Meliodas puts that on as a front because he's actually scared of his power. Cause training, he's seen what he can do with the assault power. And he explains it all to All Might and he hands over the ball of darkness. And he would actually tell All Might that it's unstable and he needs something. It's unstable and it won't be able to hold for long if he lets All Might have it. All Might would pull out the plastic bottles and take the sludge villain. And he'd ask All Might if he can be a hero with a dangerous quirk. All Might would give him the explanation about probably being able to be in the top 3 heroes, like number 2, but probably not number 1. Because you would need to be a symbol of peace. And if your power is scary and frightening to people, you may not be able to be a hero. But it's depending on how you use your quirk, because not every quirk is villainous. And All Might would actually deflate in front of Deku by the street, but no one is around, so Deku would actually kind of power up more into not any of these this mode. All Might would be surprised because he's only saw the mark. And that is about it. Then he would give the explanation that he is All Might and he has an injury, and that he got it from fighting a villain and now he has a time limit. And they kind of go their separate ways. All Might would try and go to. Well, never mind. I was going to say something, but. Alright, All Might would start heading in the direction he did in canon. Because. Reasons. And after that, he would find out he doesn't have the bottles. He'd kind of panic and then he would hear something happen. Go over to the sludge villain attack, you see. Who should it be? Hmm. Crap, I don't know who to do this with. I'll just leave that to him. Let's keep it at Bakugo. You see Bakugo getting attacked, and yeah, Deku would try and hop in. He would power up to this mode, and he would start trying to attack the sludge villain and get Bakugo out. And whenever he is doing this, Bakugo is trying to call Deku a villain, but everyone's just watching from the sidelines because they don't know what to do. So Deku would eventually get Bakugo out after creating a pair of these and ripping Bakugo out and tossing him to a hero. Then All Might would arrive and actually punch the sludge villain out of existence. All Might would reluctantly call Deku a hero because he's actually intimidated by Deku. Because whenever he was rescuing Bakugo, he had a blank stare on his face. Nothing but a stare. And it's actually people were intimidated by it because he just looks emotionless. And Deku would be called the hero in this situation, and instead of being scolded, he'd actually be praised for his power. Now then, for the 10 oh, for the 10 months of training, Deku would be doing what he usually does, but All Might would try and give Deku his power. Deku would refuse it and tell him that he wants to understand his own power better, because his quirk is built on rage. And if you were to give him more power when he doesn't even understand his own, he could become unstoppable. And he doesn't want to rely on other people's power when he can't control his own, because that would just be like, he wants to understand his quirk better. So All Might would agree to this, but still keep Deku in mind. And Bakugo, being Bakugo, he'd do that thing with Deku where he just kind of leaves him alone now because he did save his life. And let's get to the entrance exam after the 10 months. So Deku is actually able to somewhat use a lot of his power. Not completely assault mode yet style, but not this yet. But over the 10 months, he has been able to get more darkness on his body and boost himself. During the entrance exam, he doesn't trip because he is focused. He's ready. He scores probably number 2 behind Yajirozu in the written exam, and during the physical combat test, he goes to the front of the line, and Ida would try and stop him. Whenever Ida would try and give that explanation to Deku, Deku would just walk past him, ignoring him, going to the front of the line. And Ida would feel insulted that Deku would ignore him, but he would also understand because he misread the situation. He thought he was going to go talk to the Ochako, but he just ignored him and went to the front of the line. He thinks that either Deku must be really focused or really cocky, so he doesn't really like Deku from that impression. Then President Mike says 3, 2, 1, go. And Deku just immediately powers up as much darkness as he can. And he starts obliterating robots. He's just flying around, punching through robots, ripping them apart. And a lot of people are actually seeing this because he's causing quite a bit of destruction around. And what I mean by quite a bit is the shockwaves from some of his punches, they would destroy some more robots, but they'd also kind of hurt some of the buildings. It's like cracking them and making it to where they seem like they're going to collapse. And actually breaking through a few walls. So everyone would just be amazed at Deku's raw power at this. And then it would be time for the 0 pointer. And whenever Deku hears Ochako, whenever he turns to run, he would see her and he'd immediately just get angrier because he doesn't think he can make it. He gets angry at himself. And whenever this happens, Deku unknowingly actually activates his assault mode. He goes to, this is somewhere around his full power so far in the series that we're doing. As far as I know, this is going to be how far I'm bringing him, but the other guy will probably bring him farther. Crap. I am very nervous. I don't want to be late. But Deku would power up to this far, and he'd have a villainous smirk on his face, and his eyes would just be like that. So he would go, he'd fly in with his arms, and he'd start just cutting the zero pointer apart, just obliterating him. And that would both impress and scare a lot of people because they see Deku's actually, instead of having that emotionless look on his face, he's actually enjoying what he's doing. He's taking pride. He's unleashing power that no one has seen against one of these things. And eventually the zero pointer would, because he cut it up so much, would be destroyed. And Deku would go over to Uraka and pick up the rubble and just toss it aside. He'd ask her if she's okay, but she'd actually be quite scared and nervous because of the way Deku's saying it. And Deku wouldn't understand why, and then he'd realize that he unlocked something new with his quirk. So he doesn't know what to do, so he just tries calming down more. That's whenever he shrinks back down to this. And then he would pick Uraka up and he'd pick her up and then he'd take her to Recovery Girl. And after that, he would go home. Skip to. I don't have enough time for that. Okay. So he's going to be covering what goes on in the next part, and that should be it. But he scored the highest in the physical combat test, higher than All Might, and the second highest because he's been trying to focus more on controlling his power mentally growing with knowledge. But all right, I have got to go now, so I will leave this to him.